unveiling the landscape and debates beyond the laboratory.
Thank you very much, and good day to the conveners and the organizers of this program. I'm supposed to speak very briefly about the role of medicine as regards the GMO foods. One of the things that I wanted to emphasize was most of the information available on GMO foods has two sides. You would find those that are for it and those that are against it. But one thing we will all understand is everything rises and falls on policy and legislation. Many of the people that have talked about laws that have been passed that are already in existence that some of us were not aware of. And I'm asking, where is the research? Where is the localized research in our climb? How many of our health workers and our specialists were called in to research on the long-term implication of these foods before laws were passed? You know, it's one thing to use an insecticide. It's another thing to spray an insecticide in a room and decide to sleep in it. If you will not do that, then you're not likely to want to eat food that has been soaked in an insecticide and your hands are tied. So the power of choice is needed. But you see, to drive that choice, we need to push for homegrown research. Our own research to fight the data, because when people present data and you say it's a fait accompli, we say no. It has to be localized. There are studies that have to be done. There's research out there that says the foods are linked to increased levels of allergenicity, increased antibiotic resistance. And I say, okay, before you force it on people, can we see the homegrown research that says this food is actually good for people in this climate and is better than what we already have? So that's my own first contribution. Then the next thing I would like to say is there's supposed to be regulatory agencies that decide what we should be allowed to eat. In the news, you hear different types of things about what these regulatory agencies are doing to combat fake drugs, for example. Now I'm saying we are calling on them as regards food. Most of these GMO foods, a lot of our panelists have said you cannot tell the difference between the GMO seeds, the hybrid seeds. It is what they tell you it is. Now we are saying that we want the legislation to be passed and insisted upon in our country. It must be labeled what it is. We cannot be manipulated into eating what we do not want to eat. Because many people have said you are what you eat. It is actually true. And even if they don't label it GMO, if the GMO-based food constituents were used to produce a food, we should be able to say we want or we don't want it. If you will not tie down a patient and force drugs into his or her mouth, then you really shouldn't be forcing foods down people's throats that they don't want to eat. So we just want to have the research on ground. We also want the right to choose. When we have to pick a food item, we should know you made that choice to pick that food type, and then it's okay. Then the last thing I want to talk about is that you are what you eat. You can choose to eat right. So even if you do, the foods are not labeled, you don't really know how to pick them, just go for what you can vouch for, what you understand. If it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. One of the meetings we had, they said if the shelf life of the food type is beyond what is natural, then it's not what you should be eating. So I said how to reduce your exposure. Read the food labels. When you go into the shops and you're buying, take the time to read it and look at exactly what it is you want to consume. Most people that have children will tell you children go for things that are shiny. They want it to be shiny, they want to be crackly, but look at it. If it is not the healthier food option, you don't have to buy it. Because many of these GMO-based constituents are used to make processed foods. They are attractive, they look nice, but are they really healthy? So look at the food labels of what you are eating, and then when it comes to what your family is eating, decide to go for healthier food options. If you make it at home, it's more likely going to be more healthy than if you have to order it. Because what you order, you did not make. The person is not bound by the regulations that you have in your home for going for the healthier food option. So if you can cook, cook. and make sure it's healthy for you. And the last thing is cut out as much as is possible the amount of ultra processed food that you are eating, because some of these GMO based things are used to make the oils. They are used to make the preservatives. The processing of some of these processed foods is linked to the GMO process. Anyway, I was telling my colleague that you might have even eaten it, you don't know. So as much as is possible, go for what is healthy, natural, adjust your diet, and let's push for research that is localized and that we can argue about. Thank you.
GMO Foods. Unveiling the landscape and debates beyond the laboratory.